After a very long and unplanned hiatus, I finally get to say, welcome back to Simming History, where we look at the history of architecture through the lens of The Sims. Before we get started today, if you like the video, please take a moment to hit like and subscribe. Today is an update on our series From Idea to Construction. What happens when a project changes? Last we checked in on this project, we had an idea of what we wanted to do, and we were looking for land. Well, we really didn't find a buildable lot, and the rise in the cost of construction meant we really couldn't afford to build even with a kit home. So we had to change gears and start over. If we couldn't build something, we needed to buy an older existing home and fix it up to meet the needs. After much searching, and I won't bore you with the details, but involved a lot of structural failures and collapsing basements, we found a ranch, a little bungalow from the 1940s that was in acceptable condition. The structure was sound, the bones were good, and by that point, it was honestly our only requirement. As anyone who has bought a home recently can attest, the market has been hot, and because of that, we had to move quickly. I had only one night to determine if the home was doable, if it could be made to fit our needs, and in a budget that we could afford. Under normal circumstances, this is something that would take a few days or even a few weeks. But I had one night. While we took our initial tour, I took a bunch of quick measurements, the existing measurements of the house, the floor plan, and drew it up that night and then began working on a new layout. Once I had something workable, I pulled together an estimate for cost. Luckily, this was about the third house that I had done this for, so not only did I have down what we needed and how we could make it work it into existing spaces, but I also had a lot of the prices already looked up, and all I had to do was plug in quantities, like square footage. And we'll go more in depth in that in the next video for design development. Promise. The conclusion was this house would work. So the next day, they went back with the second person to look at it, and then that night they put in a bid. And they got the house. A little over a month later, it closed, and during that month, I finalized the budget and our drawings. And once we closed, last fall, we began working. This spring, we had to go into a bit of a overdrive or crunch time as we were up against a tight deadline in June. They needed to be moved in by then. And so that's where I have been. They're moved in. We are largely done, at least with the interiors. And now, we get to look at this project together. And right now, I want to take a moment to say thank you to the relative in question and the now homeowner who is letting us look at this project on this channel. They are a viewer, so make sure in the comment section to say thank you. So let's take a look at what we started with. The home is split into two halves. If you've ever seen a house like this where the front door is offset, but the porch is centered, this is why. There is a center load-bearing wall that runs right down the middle of the home that all the structure ties into. On one side, you'll find the living spaces, a front small living room, a dining room, and a kitchen, at least originally. In this case, the dining room and living room had been combined into a family room. The kitchen had been first enlarged and then turned into a dining room. And a long closet was added to one wall, running from the chimney of the original 1940s coal fire heater all the way to the outer wall, and it was as stupid looking in person as it looks in The Sims. It was completely open on the inside, had two doors, one that opened onto the actual basement door. It was very strange. And somehow within this closet space, they had completely encased a kitchen cabinet. We're not sure why. The back porch had been enclosed and turned into a kitchen. So it was a long galley kitchen. On the other side of the house, fairly standard 2 bedrooms with a bathroom in between and an attic stair in the closet of the 2nd bedroom. Throughout the home, there was old, smelly carpet everywhere. And under that carpet, in a couple of the rooms, was old, smelly wool carpet from at least the 1970s. Several bedrooms hadn't been painted in who knows how long. The walls were kind of dirty and shadowy. The bathroom had a moldy bathtub with a tub surround that had been duct taped to the wall. The vanity was from the 1970s. It had a variety of flooring that seemed to be glued on top of each other. And of course, wallpaper border. The family room had maroon walls with pink sponge paint and a wallpaper border. In that back porch kitchen, which had been completely opened up to the rest of the home, was not insulated. So it acted essentially as a giant air sac. In the winter, it would result in massive heat loss, and in the summer, that's where all your air conditioning would go. The basement was damp. A lot of the windows had been boarded up, so that needed to be straightened out. The utilities were a hot mess, and as you'll see, some of them had to be completely redone. Okay, most of them had to be completely redone. The attic, well, the attic stairs are death trap. We're going to redo those. That hasn't happened yet. The attic itself, somebody had tried to finish it at some point in time with insulation and drywall, but they hadn't properly vented it. Again, we'll get into that another time. So that had to be addressed. But largely the issues were cosmetic. These were all addressable. They were all fixable. The structure was basically fine. And so it was a lot of work to do, but it was all doable. And next time, when we look at design development phase, also known as what I did frantically that one night, we'll start to take a look at how we did it. So thank you for joining me today for this update on idea to construction. I am going to try to update this series every Wednesday until it's complete. I'm going to try. We'll see. Meanwhile, we resume our usual every other weekend schedule starting this weekend with a fan request. Meanwhile, you can find me on Instagram at Simming History and Sims4 Gallery at Simming History, where there are playable versions of many of the builds on this channel and eventually this one. Thank you to all the new subs. If you're new here, welcome. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe. When we hit 1,000, I will do a live build, so subscribe and share. I'll see you all next time. Until then, bye.